My diagnosis is ependymoma. I was diagnosed in 2006 when I was 17. Ependymoma is a type of brain tumor, so I currently have brain cancer. The type of tumor I have is more of a rare tumor with not a lot of precision treatments developed for it, so anything past the standard of care for brain cancer treatment is kind of limited for patients with ependymomas. It was important for me to sign up for a clinical trial because of the fact that there are limited options for my specific diagnosis. And so not only would I help myself if I was part of this trial and it was successful, but then, with trials comes the ability to push the treatment to, approval so everybody can have access to the treatment. So, it's, in my perspective, it's kind of not entirely, but it's almost like a very selfless thing you can do because you're also helping other people around you.
The purpose of clinical trials is to design a better future. All drugs that we know and that have come about in the last several decades have come through clinical trials. So our routine medications that we use for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cancer, those are all prior clinical trials.
So the information that we provide to patients about clinical trials at first is to talk about the overview of what's involved, the treatments, the additional work that's involved for the patient, for instance, increased frequency of visits and so on. Some of the advantages that come along with participating in clinical trials is access to innovative treatments that would otherwise not be available. Some of these treatments that have come along have really been able to patients live for much longer than they would have been expected to have lived.
In a clinical trial, we have to observe our patients very carefully to make sure that any new drug that we are making part of the regimen, that we are really not missing anything. So this can be an additional advantage for patients because they have a very designated clinical trials nurse and coordinator, like where they have their number, they can call them, and they really are special. And I think that's really another advantage of participating in a clinical trial.
Any treatment with cancer comes with stress. It's a stressful process, and all treatments come with side effects. If somebody has doubts about a clinical trial, I try to let them know that the #1 priority is their safety and their quality of life. If those factors aren't being met, then we move on. That's first and foremost is the patient experience and that trial is benefiting them.
I started having back pain, like right between my shoulder blades, and it was bad. It was really awful. I remember I went from walking fine Sunday afternoon to not being able to walk without a white knuckle hold on something. And even that was very tenuous in 3 days. And they found the mass on my kidney, which is the primary location of my cancer. So my diagnosis is renal cell carcinoma, stage 4, because it metastasized to my spine.
We saw Henry Ford and they're like, hey, talked to a neuro-oncologist and neurosurgeon there, and they said immediately, hey, we know exactly what this is. It's either an astrocytoma or oligodendroglioma. So we know one of the 2 types it is. We'll check it out. We'll get in there, we'll get you scheduled for surgery next Thursday.
My diagnosis was in 2018. I wasn't feeling particularly ill, but not feeling well. And the doctor, my family doctor, sent me over for an ultrasound of my gallbladder. We were thinking that was maybe what was the source of the problem. And within 2 hours, I got a phone call saying I needed to come back. And they told me I had a rather large tumor in my kidney. They diagnosed me with renal cell carcinoma. I had to have my kidney removed. They indicated that there was no sign of cancer anywhere else, but the treatment would be to wait and watch.
One of the things that's nice about being in a clinical trial here, for me, was that I had the nurse advocate in the clinical trial office who really paved the way for me getting she made sure I got all the appointments that I needed, and that was very helpful.
I was just talk openly and honestly with their neuro-oncologist. They said, hey, this is a therapy that could work and isn't going to affect my ability to work in my daily, my everyday life working as a middle school math and science teacher.
To be under such a watchful eye of so many people. You know, the nurse navigator would call me at home or text me to see how I was doing. Where do you get that kind of care? So for me, the clinical trial was a very rewarding experience, and I would tell anyone else. Again, it's a personal decision, but look at your options. Are you going to fight this? Are you going to take some control over it? And for me, that was the deciding factor. I wanted to make a difference, if not for my life, somebody else's.